In this video, I'll uncover a quick start guide to one meal a day. Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Zarowski and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community so I can help you excel your health and your life. Now in this video, I'll uncover one meal a day. Now this is something that we've talked about quite a bit on this channel. We have a lot of videos on this topic, but what I want to do is give a quick start guide because a lot of people are familiar with intermittent fasting, 16 and 8, but they ask me a lot of questions around how to actually go about doing one meal a day. So what we'll do is dive right into this topic, and with this video, I'll give you a lot of different resources to dive into to further educate yourself on one meal a day. Now, one meal a day, or OMAD, is basically a form of intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, your traditional intermittent fasting, is fasting for 16 hours, eating all your meals within an 8-hour period. Now, when you do one meal a day, you're basically doing a 22-hour plus fast. And so the question becomes, why in the world would you want to do this? So basically, intermittent fasting offers great results, tons of benefits, but what happens is when you do one meal a day, it really amplifies all these benefits. You start taking autophagy into consideration, you're gonna get some better results there. When it comes to actually burning the fat off your body for energy, much better results there because you're extending that fast. When your body starts really mobilizing those fatty acids and starts burning those ketones for energy, is gonna be somewhere right around the 14-hour mark, okay? And now if you're doing traditional intermittent fasting, it means you're getting a solid 2 hours of fat burning. If you're doing one meal a day, you're going to get many more. And so you can see there by going and extending that fast to 22 plus hours, eating your meals within a 1 to 2 hour time frame, you're going to get much better results. And so regular 16 and 8, extremely beneficial. One meal a day, just amplifying those benefits a little bit more. Now, the next thing here is who can do this? Now, pretty much anybody can do this. There's a couple things that you need to take into consideration. First of all, some different women may have problems with it. What can happen when you're doing one meal a day? Essentially, it just stresses your body a little bit too much. And what will happen is it can start messing with your hormones, it can start messing with your regular cycle. And so if that's the case, what you want to do is back off from one meal a day. Now, most women can do one meal a day, a couple days a week. Some women can get away doing it, every day if that's what they choose to do. It doesn't seem to affect them, but it'll have an impact on some. So what you have to do is just watch that, and it's really not worth doing if it's really throwing off your hormones and causing issues for you. 16 and 8 fasting is very beneficial. You don't have to be in one camp or the other. Typically what I like to do is switch it up anyway. Now, another person that might struggle with doing one meal a day, someone who has some different metabolic issues. So if you're pre-diabetes, diabetes, or you just have some hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia swings going on, what you'll do is find that you'll struggle with it a little bit more. Now, this is very beneficial for these people in order to help create stability, but what happens is you still struggle with it in the beginning. And so how to get started, okay, especially if you're someone who has some metabolic issues, what I recommend is that if you want to go and do one meal a day, essentially you don't just jump into it from a 3 meal a day lifestyle. What you do is you just start slowly implementing it into your lifestyle. So for example here, when we look at someone who wants to start implementing this in, what they can do is start fasting for like 14 hours, and then they can do that for a week, and then 16 hours and do that for a week, or then go to 18 and 20 and even up to 22 there. Now, the reason that it's beneficial to do it that way is because a lot of people, they want to just dive right in head first, and then they crash and they feel terrible and they say this doesn't work for me and it's not sustainable, and they give up. It works for so many people. If this is something that you choose to do, that you want to do, it's very beneficial and it works very well. It's just that you have to be reasonable about it and you have to just slowly get into it. So make sure that you're eating, first of all, quality diet, which we'll talk about in a second, but also we want to just get into it slowly. And even if you're doing regular 16 and 8 intermittent fasting, you can go and just kind of do, all right, now I'm going to go from a 16-hour fast to an 18-hour to a 20-hour, and just slowly expand that fasting window until you're where you want to be with one meal a day. Now, next question is what to eat that I get a lot. So this question is important because a lot of people say, well, you have to do keto. And a lot of people say you can eat whatever you want because the great part is you're still going to burn that fat even though you're eating all that trash. Well, you don't have to do keto because some people don't want to, and it's just too strict of a diet for them. And then on the other hand, you don't want to be eating a bunch of junk food. You don't want to be doing this whole fasting thing where you're putting stress on your body at a physiological level, which is a healthy stress, but then you're stressing it out in a bad way by eating foods that are loaded with toxins and a whole bunch of terrible ingredients, and a whole bunch of sugar causing metabolic issues. So what we want to do is be somewhere right in the middle typically. Okay, so first ketogenic diet, if that's what you choose to follow, great diet, right? But also a good low carb diet. Now, ketogenic diet is going to be 50 grams of carbohydrates or less, and low carb is going to be 100 grams of carbohydrate or less. Now, I'm typically right in this low carb range. That's what makes me feel good. That's how I typically go about doing this. So you want to make sure you're following a good whole food diet, low carb, and that's going to be how you get the best results there. And then, should I do one meal a day daily? So I like to do some fasting confusion, what I call it, or metabolic confusion. See, when we do things consistently with the body, typically we plateau. If you do the same exercises, you plateau. If you are going and eating the same diet, typically you plateau. And even when you are doing the same fast day after day, typically you'll plateau. So what I like to do is switch it up. I like to do one meal a day, a couple days a week. I like to do just regular 16 and 8 intermittent fasting a couple days a week. And then I'll typically do 1 or 2 days where I don't fast at all. And so this is done for a couple reasons. First of all, like I said, when you go and you change up your fasting, you get better results. Time and time again, I see this where people are just, they have a rigid schedule and they plateau eventually and they're not really seeing much benefit. Then I have them switch it up and they see much better results. But I also do this personally because of my exercise routine, and I have a family, and sometimes it's nice to just be normal and sit down for breakfast with your family every once in a while. So go ahead and do what's right for you there. A couple quick tips, okay? Because when you're doing one meal a day, there's some different things you can run into that are just frustrating. And one of them is hunger, okay? So drinking black coffee and using that in a way to stop the hunger throughout the day is really beneficial. So instead of getting up first thing in the morning like most people do and drinking coffee, hold off and wait till later on in the day. Use it as a way to help just kill that hunger down. You can also do tea as well. Now, when it comes back to coffee, I need to cover this because a lot of people mess this up. Now, a lot of people will tell you that you can drink bulletproof coffee. Now, bulletproof coffee is keto, but it is not fasting. Be aware that it is breaking your fast. So if you are someone who likes that keto idea of drinking a keto coffee, it's perfectly fine, but it will break your fast. And so when we are looking at coffee, we just want to drink it black and not go and put a stick of butter in it, okay? So if you're drinking keto coffee, there's benefits to it, but it's just not fasting. You can't put, 50 to 100 calories worth of butter in your coffee and consider it fasting, because it just isn't. So black coffee, tea. Now, some people ask me, can I put xylitol? Can I put stevia in it? You can get away with a lot of this stuff while fasting just fine. What happens though, and this is where it becomes really confusing, is that people who have a really inefficient metabolism, essentially someone who's pre-diabetes, someone who has diabetes, they'll react to almost anything. And so almost anything can throw them out of their fast. A little bit of xylitol raises their blood sugar up. A little bit of stevia can even raise their blood sugar up. So when we look at this, if you are very metabolically inefficient, you need to be very strict with it. If you are metabolically efficient, then essentially you can get away with using some of these different natural sweeteners. Sparkling water is another great tool in order to help with hunger throughout the day. I like drinking sparkling water. Typically, most of them are like a more mineral-based sparkling water, so you can get some little bit of mineral benefit from that. And electrolyte powder is another thing that I'll use throughout the day. And the reason I use this is just because I do some long distance running. So for those purposes, I'll have some electrolyte issues sometimes. But also when you're fasting, what happens is your body starts to shed water as a result of your insulin being very low, and it sheds a lot of those electrolytes with it. So if you're someone who's doing some running and some different heavy exercise and you're doing some fasting, well, you can start to get muscle twitches, not feel so good. So I'll add some electrolyte powder in as well, and I'll put a link to the one that I use in the description. An apple cider vinegar drink, I like to use the apple cider vinegar. I like the flavor of it. First thing in the morning, I typically have this. I'll put apple cider vinegar in, a little bit of cinnamon, and I mix up this little concoction, drink that. It's a great way to start your day. I'll put the recipe to that in the description below. And then when it comes to working out, I'll use amino acids, okay? Now, when it comes to working out, a lot of people are doing some weight training. Sometimes it's very difficult to put on some muscle gain while doing one meal a day. So I'm a big fan of using amino acids to do so. I'll use it pre and post workout. Yes, the amino acids will break your fast, but at this point, it's more about, for me, going and trying to actually get in and continue to build muscle. And so I'll use amino acids, and when I do my workout, I typically am going to try to do that before breaking my fast. Okay, the research shows that you're going to get the best benefits if you do your exercise prior to breaking your fast, prior to that first meal. And so that's of course why I'll use a pre-workout to give me a little boost, and I'll also even use the amino acids in order to help have those proper building blocks so I can actually build muscle during that workout. Now, the best exercise, okay? Now, a lot of people who are doing one meal a day are doing strength training, and that's a great exercise, and it's great for everybody. You know, if you're a female, it's gonna help tone up your body. If you're a male, you're gonna be able to put the muscle on that you're looking for. And if you're aging, then it's going to help you maintain muscle mass, okay? And once again, that's why the amino acids are great, and the weightlifting is great as well. So doing some weight training is very, very good, and it fits well into the one meal a day model. Doing high intensity interval training also fits well into the one meal a day model. What does not fit well into the one meal a day model is doing long distance running. So that's why if I'm ever doing long distance running, I am not doing one meal a day because I am so hungry. I can't go and run 8, 10, 12 miles and then do one meal a day because I'm just starving that whole time, and it's going to just cause muscle breakdown and everything else. So that's when I stay away from doing one meal a day, is if I'm doing long distance training. So what I will do with this video is I'll first share intermittent fasting resources with you. You can go ahead and click on a video right up here where I give you a complete guide to intermittent fasting, teach you everything you need to know far beyond what I'm talking about here. And then what I'll also do is I'll put a link in the description below to all the different resources about the apple cider vinegar drink and the electrolyte powder and all these things that I talked about. I even have actually a OMAD food plan, which I'll put a link to in the description below as well. So check out all those resources. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. I'd greatly appreciate that. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to my channel so you can get more great videos like this one here. And then check out my other videos on how you can improve your health. I'll see you in the next video.